Before we begin, this video is based on our understanding of Nioh 2's story and lore, and reflects our interpretation of its events as a refresher before Nioh 3. As always, we recommend that you make your own informed call by looking into the game yourself and ensuring that it matches your expectations, standards, and personal values. So with that out of the way, let's begin. To understand the present and look to the future, it's essential to examine the past. Japan is defined by its various tumultuous eras. The late Sengoku period leading into the Edo era, where the Tokugawa Shogunate reigned in relatively peaceful fashion, which didn't last, leading to the Bakumatsu and Meiji Restoration. But even during Nioh 1, as William Adams traipsed across Japan, helping Tokugawa Ieyasu emerge victorious against his enemies and become the first shogun, another story lay in wait, one that would lend a further dimension to the narrative as we know it. Now, naturally, we're talking about Nioh 2, released in 2021 and garnering nearly as much praise as the original. Despite retaining the same combat fundamentals, it ramped up the difficulty, added new weapon types, overhauled skill progression, and introduced a game changer, burst counters. Combined with the new Yokai skills, where players could transform and unleash different kinds of attacks, adding even more to the build variety, freshened up the original hack-and-slash formula. Despite all that, the actual narrative starts before Nioh 1. While the latter primarily occurs in the 1600s, Nioh 2 is set in the late 1500s and focuses on Hidechio, aka Hide, who players can customize using the extensive creation suite. This approach was likely to introduce more original events into established history, as if Yokai Havoc and a massive conspiracy by John Dee were canon. However, it also presented an anomaly in the established order of humans and yokai, a shiftling. Half yokai and half human, a shiftling can shift between the two forms. Not only does it allow the human side to utilize Omnio magic, ninjutsu, but it also lets the player channel anima and unleash the power of a yokai. So one has to ask, in the myriad of schemes set to unravel in the late Sengoku era, who was Hide, and what is their story? It all starts with the journey to Jusenzakura, which is under siege by bandits and yokai. While traveling, Hide receives a letter leading him to the town and sets about trying to save it, eventually clashing with the massive Mezuki. Things are going swimmingly enough until they start going berserk. Tokichiro, the one who sent the letter, intervenes and introduces himself as a merchant seeking out Amrita. Foresight is 2020, but Tokichiro isn't looking to fall prey to its corruption, not yet at least. Instead, he's hired by Saito Dosan, the former Viper of Mino, who went to great lengths to seize power and become the province's daimyo. Despite conflicts with a certain clan in Owari known as Oda, Dosan relented when he met their next heir, Nobunaga, and was impressed by him. As a result, his daughter, Nohime, was married to Nobunaga, thus creating an alliance between the two clans. Dosan now spends his days collecting spirit stones with the Saito clan, now headed by Yoshitatsu. Though Dosan's goal was to keep them away from the power-hungry, he failed to notice that his own offspring, Yoshitatsu, would betray him. As Hide and Tokichiro make their way to Dosan, they happen upon a yokai hunter, Mumyo, who leads a clan of similar-minded folk known as Sohaya. Despite considering Hide a threat due to their yokai nature, she leaves them be. Upon meeting with Dosan, Yoshitatsu initiates a coup to covet the spirit stones, even bringing along some yokai to help him out. Dosan eventually sacrifices himself to allow the pair to escape, but the main reason is that he realized that Hide is his son, with Miyoshino, a yokai, being their mother. With nowhere else to go, Hide and Tokichiro meet with Oda Nobunaga himself and become his vassals. They venture to different locations to assist Nobunaga's allies, including Shibata Katsui, the Oda clan's chief retainer, Maeda Toshie, a gifted spear user and Owari province commander, and Hachisuka Kuroku, who's also a shiftling. Eventually, they go up against Yoshitatsu at Inabayama Castle. On top of seeking his head for the sake of Nobunaga, adding the Mino province to his own, they're out to claim justice for Dosan. However, Hide discovers that Yoshitatsu is their twin, who remained with his father when Miyoshino took Hide to leave separately out of concerns for their safety. They also encounter Kashin Koji, a strange man from their nightmares who will quickly prove to be a thorn in their side. Koji is gone before Hide and Tokichiro can get any answers. Still, the day is won, and upon returning to Nobunaga, he names the pair Hideyoshi. Eventually, Hide and Mumyo are on better terms, both due to the former saving the latter from a yokai, and because Hide's dagger, a keepsake from their mother, resonates with her talisman. Nobunaga's campaign of conquest continues, as they venture to Otani Castle to safeguard Lady Oichi, his sister. Koji appears once more, this time possessing Azai Nagamasa, whose clan is at war with Nobunaga, and who also happens to be married to Oichi. Upon Azai's death, Koji departs, but not before delivering a cryptic message to Tokichiro. As it turns out, he's becoming swayed by the power of the Spirit Stones, especially after being entrusted with the same by Nobunaga. Koji sensed this and approached him, possessing Saito Toshimitsu, a retainer of the clan who serves Akechi Mitsuhide, a vassal under Nobunaga. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it's because he was responsible for the incident that led to the death of Nobunaga and Nohime. The reason? Well, Nobunaga began dipping more into the power of the Spirit Stones, and Mitsuhide shared the same stance as Dosan, that they're dangerous, must be kept away from the power-hungry. It's one reason that he didn't like Hideyoshi, and Tokichiro began leveraging the Spirit Stones and their power for his own gains. Eventually, Mitsuhide is betrayed by the Koji-possessed Toshimitsu, but Hide shows up in time to save him. After Koji escapes, Tokichiro arrives and subsequently slays Toshimitsu. At this point, Tokichiro, once a sworn ally to Hide and Mumyo, has clearly fallen into the darkness and amassed a powerful army to gain control. With Nobunaga dead and no refuge, the duo escape with Mitsuhide in tow. You would think that all hope is lost, but fortunately there is a new hope: Tokugawa Ieyasu. Mitsuhide assumes a new identity, Tenkai, while a new mission sees Hide venturing to Kitan-no-sho Castle, under siege from Tokichiro's forces, to once again rescue Lady Oichi and her new husband, Shibata Katsui. Unfortunately, things take a terrible turn for your former ally. After Hide defeats Maeda Toshie, who sided with Tokichiro after Nobunaga's demise, Shibata transforms into a yokai. Hide has no choice but to kill Shibata, and already burdened by the death of her brother and unable to cope with this new despair, Oichi commits suicide. At this point, Tenkai and Senno Rikyu, a tea master and Nobunaga's former advisor, have had enough of Tokichiro and hatch a plan to defeat him. Hide ventures forth to meet Tokichiro, and the two friends battle to the death. While Hide emerges victorious, Koji rears his diabolical head once more, bringing Tokichiro back to life and possessing him. The yokai subsequently go mad, and after fighting two massive threats, Hide is killed by Tokichiro. But it's not the end. Hide awakens in the interim, the same place where they first started their adventure, and reunites with their mother. Along with revealing that Koji is the one who had killed her, she confirms that his real identity is Otakamaru, one of the three most infamous yokai in history, who could only be sealed away with the sword, Sohayamaru. Hide is brought back to life and must search for Sohayamaru, since it's the key to defeating Koji once and for all. They eventually arrive at Byoda Inn, where Tokichiro releases two powerful yokai, Shuten Doji, who Hide fights, and the Nine-Tailed Fox, who escapes and surely won't cause any more trouble. Meanwhile, the resonance of Hide's dagger and Mumyo's talisman, a sword guard, is more than just a coincidence. It's the key to restoring the sword. Of course, they also need a lot of spirit stones, which leads them to Tokichiro's stash. After slaying Lady Osakabe, a castle-sized yokai, Sohayamaru is brought back to its former glory. Hide fights Tokichiro again, and though forced to kill him, he eventually dispels Koji. Following a fight with Koji, who retreats but leaves behind a horn, Hide returns to Byodo Inn and seals Otakamaru by using Sohayamaru on it. It should be a happy ending, but who should show up but William, who's still on the hunt for Maria. He accidentally releases Koji, and the latter possesses Hide, leading to the two heroes clashing. Hide recovers his sense of will and dispels Koji, but it's revealed that Maria is planning to revive Tokichiro to keep the war going, since her purpose in Nioh 1's DLC has been shown to sow chaos in Japan. William has been chasing her ever since, with the final 2 chapters of Nioh 2's base story taking place in 1616 after the siege of Osaka. After thwarting Koji and preventing him from possessing Tokichiro again, Hide battles against the transformed Otakamaru. Thankfully, he's not alone, as Tokichiro fights alongside him. The yokai is defeated once and for all, Maria is apprehended, and William reunites with Hattori Hanzo. Tokichiro ventures to the afterlife, having somewhat redeemed himself, but there's still work for a pair of yokai hunters. After saying goodbye to their friend, Hide and Mumyo venture forth to hunt. While that marks the end of the base game, it is not the end of Hide's story, by a long shot. When he slew Otakamaru, Sohayamaru offered a vision of those who previously wielded it. In The Tengu's Disciple, Hide discovers Kurama Tengu, who emerges after a reaction with the sword and sends them to the past. They meet with Minamoto no Yoshitsune, who also wielded Sohayamaru during the Heian period. Fighting together against the Taira clan, Yoshitsune is enraged after the death of Benkei, his trusted retainer, who nonetheless went down swinging to protect his master, and becomes a yokai. After being defeated by Hide, he's back to normal. However, the mystery behind Sohayamaru thickens, and after seeing a strange vision, Yoshitsune gives Hide his flute, and the latter travels further back in time. Thus, we arrive at Darkness in the Capital, the second DLC where Hide encounters Minamoto no Yorimitsu, a yokai hunter who also wielded Sohayamaru. Though she mistakenly attacks Hide, she's eventually sent back to Rashomon Gate by Sakata no Kintoki to defend the capital. Yorimitsu is then captured by a yokai but freed with Hide's help. The latter eventually arrives at the Imperial Palace at the behest of Abe no Saimei, Yorimitsu's ally, to fight against Ashiya Domen, who is responsible for the yokai attack. Before he can fight Domen, Hide must deal with beloved cat spirit Nekomata, who's been twisted into the white tiger and attacks. Upon defeating it, with Saimei helping to restore it because we still need him for Nioh 1, Hide sets out for Domen, who dies to summon the 8 powerful lightning aspects of Yomi. Upon defeating Yomi, it's revealed that Domen was possessed by, that's right, Kashin Koji. With the former's death, he escapes. In the meantime, Hide ventures to Byoda Inn and finds Yorimitsu, and Saimei sealing away Shuten Doji and the Nine-Tailed Fox. They end up giving their lives to achieve this, and Hide must venture even further back. In the first Samurai DLC, which is ironic because the last Samurai was the final mission in Nioh, Bloodshed's End, players finally learn the origins of Otakamaru. As narrated by Hide's mother, he was a beloved figure in the Heian period. However, they would come to fear him and eventually attack, causing Otakamaru to retaliate, wreaking havoc and destroying the neighboring village, though a mysterious hero has succeeded in stopping him. After finding Otakamaru and nearly going berserk again, Suzuka, the former sister, intervenes. After ensuring Hide's well-being, she ventures forth to find her brother, but ends up accosted by Tate Ieboshi, Otakamaru's lackey. Hide saves her, and in return, Suzuka bestows them with Sohaya. Combined with Ieboshi's spirit stones and Suzuka's sword, this forms Sohayamaru. Armed with the mythical sword once more, Hide battles Otakamaru, who fuses with Aratama to transform into the Nightmare Bringer. Naturally, Hide emerges victorious, and in that moment, Otakamaru leaves his hatred for humanity behind, realizing that the Shiftling is proof of humanity and yokai coexisting. Koji seemingly tries to emerge from Otakamaru's horn until Hide uses Sohayamaru, seals him, and returns to the present. Suzuka, who lost her memories to develop Sohayamaru, sees all of this and relays the story to her child in the future. Only that child is Hide. Yes, Miyoshino, Hide's mother, was actually Suzuka the entire time, which means Otakamaru is actually the protagonist's uncle. We then see the siblings reunited in the afterlife and finally moving on in peace. With the events of Nioh 2 coming full circle at the end of the first Samurai, how does Nioh 3 possibly connect to the previous games? Well, first off, you're no longer playing as William or Hide, but instead as a direct descendant of Ieyasu, Tokugawa Takechiyo. Set in 1622, Tokichiro is to become shogun, but his jealous brother, Kunimatsu, is corrupted and assails Edo Castle, Yokai in tow. With the city in ruins, Tokichiro ventures back in time to alter events. And that's interesting because not only will he venture to the Heian and Sengoku periods, but also the brand new Bakumatsu. Characters like Hattori Hanzo and Minamoto no Yoshitsune return, but you'll also encounter historical figures like Takasugi Shinsaku, Okita Soji, Takada Shingen, and Minamoto no Yoritomo. Is there a greater figure responsible for pushing Kunimatsu to turn on his brother and lay waste to Edo? Do they lie in the past, pulling the strings? Who could it be, especially giving all of the major threats, from D to Maria and Otakamaru? Have they been taken care of? And while Team Ninja hasn't confirmed it, we wouldn't be surprised if either Hide or William make cameos, teaming up with Tokichiro on his journey. Who's to say he won't consult with his grandfather and perhaps gain some advice on saving his brother? Well, Nioh 3 launches on February 6th for PS5 and PC, so hopefully these questions will be answered soon enough.
And that'll be about it for this one. If you guys like what we're doing at GamingBolt, please consider subscribing to our channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video.